Good morning, everybody. This is the One Thing or Another podcast. Mark, your host here, and we're doing a video this week because not because it's like that's what everybody's doing, and they are, by the way, but no, I just thought this is kind of a monumental time in our lives and our experiences, and I figured why not? Rick and I used to record our podcasts every week, going back in the day, old school stuff, you know.
Not as far back as we go, Mark. That'd be like old school 35 years ago stuff. This would be like recent as of what? 4 years ago, maybe?
Certainly
Five,
4 or 5 years ago. Yeah, time goes so
yeah.
fast. It does.
Well,
Like
it does.
Facebook reminds me how fast time goes because it'll go like, oh, I published this book 5 years ago, and I'm thinking, holy shit, five
I know.
years.
And now I saw you got a new book coming out. That's exciting.
I do, and I will
It's
donate.
exciting.
All
Well,
proceeds are being donated to me.
mm, and they should be. Oh, here's to our coffee. We used to do that too. My mug is a Nashville, Tennessee mug today that
My,
I'm drinking out of
mine
here.
is mine is from. It doesn't
Uh-oh,
have a
frog in
name
the
on it,
throat.
but it's from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, the train station there. We had such a fun time.
The trans station.
The train station.
Oh, I was going to say that's the land of the Amish, isn't it?
Yes, it is. They were
It
Amish people.
is.
We went in a buggy and stuff. Now, I'm now one of these essential workers. Whoever thought that I would be an American hero? I had no anticipation of this.
You know,
Uh,
Mark, I'm appreciative you're having on the show, and I want to comment on that because I was thinking the other day, if we put out the Time 100 list, who would be the Time Person of the Year? And I said it's the grocery store worker. Another friend said it's the medical worker. It could be any of the above,
yeah, but
but
it's
yes, indeed,
always a
you're,
medical worker. Like it's always a medical worker. It doesn't matter.
yeah, yeah,
You don't need a pandemic for people to, thank the military for their service or talk about how the first responders are superheroes.
that's their job.
So I don't agree with that one. I just don't. I think you're right in this particular case because the medical, like I said, when this is over, the medical workers are still going to be like heroes. I mean, that's
Yes.
how we see them. But the
Did we
grocery,
even put this in context that we're talking about the coronavirus and COVID-19? Did
well,
we?
no, but that's the only thing we're going to talk about. The only thing there is to talk about. And I'm going to work 5 days, at actually 5 days a week now at the grocery store to make sure everybody has food and all of that stuff. And it's pretty stressful. But I'm telling you, I'm so glad I'm working because I would lose my mind not working. I cannot just sit around the house. I would go crazy.
You know, when we look back at this time, we'll all have our personal journeys with it. I happen to be in northern Wisconsin. I live in Madison, but I'm 3.5 hours north to an area you know very well, Mark. You used to come visit this when you were writing some television work with me. And I made the decision, on a daily basis, things are changing. And I want to hear about your grocery escapades for sure, because uh, I've tuned out. And like I said, when we started the show, I really got joy seeing your face this morning because intentionally I've given you your space and your time, even in our friendship, to do what you need to do. Poked out a few texts to you saying I love you and I'm thinking about you. But I was trapped up here on a daily basis. Files County is the county of the oldest citizenship in the state. So 3 days ago when I was up here, they put out a warning saying basically a county warning saying you're not allowed back into this county if you come from a high risk
Really?
county, which I'm from. Yeah, unless you self quarantine for 14 days. So at that point, I made the decision, talked to my family. I decided to stay up here. So I have not been back in Dane County for well over a week. But to your point, I would have went stir crazy because I live by myself down there. Up here, at least I'm with family and all those good things.
Yeah, and I've got Frank, and he's been retired for a few years, and he's super busy all the time. So it's different for me. I've always known that even when I retire, which will be in a few years, I'm still going to work part time, partly for some extra cash. But I'm not somebody who can stay busy all the time. I'll put 3 or 4 more hours in my computer every morning, as you know.
Yeah.
People are like, what are you doing at 4 o'clock in the morning? Well, I'm up and I'm doing shit. But when that's over by 9, 10 o'clock, that's it. Like, what
Yeah,
else am
your
I going
day
to do
ends when
now?
mine starts. Yeah. Well, they say it's just really been a hard time for people that are extroverted. I consider you certainly more of an introvert. But for someone like me who wants to be around people, these are tough times. I'm a huge hugger. I don't know why. I just like to touch people and be touched. And so it's been strange. I intentionally find myself, Mark, every day going to the local grocery store up here just to see people. Even if I
Yeah,
just buy one thing of ice cream, I'm just going because I'm
yeah.
going.
I'm telling you, some people at the store I work at the Giant, which is a large store, but I know that there are people that are going there because there's nowhere else to
Really?
go. Oh
Really?
yeah, it's like, what am I going to do today? Well, at least I can go to the grocery store because I see customers there like every day.
That's
And we are
crazy.
we are finally taking, because Frank has been concerned about me for a few couple weeks, and saying
Oh
like,
yeah.
what are they doing there? What are the precautions they're taking? So finally, as of Sunday, the cashiers all have plexiglass. It's not bulletproof, I don't think,
Oh
but it is
wow.
plexiglass between them and the customer. So
Really?
you're not directly talking to them,
Wow.
which is great. And they're all wearing gloves now. I've been saying for 3 weeks, why aren't the cashiers wearing gloves? And then in the deli
Mm.
where I work, it's now all grab and go. You cannot go up to the counter now and say, I want a pound of ham. You have to buy it prepackaged or put your order in a kiosk, which you could do
Mm.
before. There's no over the counter handoffs anymore. And I think
Good.
that's really good too, because a lot of deli workers are older. I've noticed that for a long time. I think it has to do with reliability. We're reliable people. You get a high schooler in there or a young person in there, they call in sick because they want to go to the beach. So the deli tends to have older people working in it.
That makes
Um,
sense. Well, I do
you know,
believe this is the year if Time Magazine did put out its top 100 and listed the person of the year, it would be the essential worker, specifically the grocery worker. Unsung heroes, certainly in our society.
I also think that I'm hoping that when this is passed, that some of these measures that we're taking now to be a less contagious society will continue. I really
Implemented.
do,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I would love to. We could think of how much we could lower the incidence of influenza. How many? Because that takes a high toll too. A lot of people. I was getting really annoyed with people comparing this to the flu and going like, 20,000, 30,000 people die a year. This ain't nothing. It's not the same, and trying to explain it to them was not effective. But we could certainly lower the incidence of influenza by
Yeah.
just
And it,
washing our
if
hands and wearing
if they
gloves. You know?
For sure. And if they, we've started some of that with hand sanitizers everywhere you went. That was done a few years ago. But you're right. If they put up these plastic sheets, leave them up. Why would they go through all this work? I know at our local store, Woodman's down in Madison, they put dispensers, sanitizer dispensers. Of course, it has to be 70% more of the sanitation part than the liquid. But they put those behind every teller or checkout person. And I think that's critical. When you look at it historically, and we will look back at this, and to your point, what changes will this make that become permanent? What mental things have we learned? And part of me is like, two comments here, real quick, Mark. If we've asked to be distanced, and we have by the choices we've made to be social media people, to text and not call, to virtually talk to people on FaceTime, then maybe it's like being thrown in our face, like, okay, you want a virtual world? I'll give you a virtual world. The second thing I thought about is my niece, and not to get highly emotional, but I think of someone like her who's 18, my niece Haley, my brother's kid, who, think of her. She was born in 2001. So this is the generation graduating high school right now that were born on 9/11 year and are ending their high school life in COVID-19 year. So it's really interesting. Prom was canceled for yesterday. They're not able to walk at graduation. So what does this mean for that generation? Very interesting stories to be told.
Yes, and I forgot, I got lost there.
No,
So
there's a lot to think about. I'll tell you that for sure. There's
there
so many
is,
layers to this,
there is, and I also hope that um, when this is passed, I don't have high hopes because of the realities of the society we're living in and politics and all of that stuff. But it would be nice if we could come out of this more compassionate for each other. Like when I was writing about Trump on Facebook today, and I made it clear I'm not talking about his supporters. I have absolute utter contempt for this man. But that doesn't. I don't have contempt for his supporters. And I was seeing like these things on Facebook from, because I have friends and family of various persuasions. They're not. I don't live in
Sure.
a. I don't live in a liberal bubble. At least not on Facebook. And well, actually anywhere, because I work with people who I know are Trump supporters or
And they're
conservatives.
great people,
They're
no
fine
doubt.
people. So I'm not contemptuous of them. But I was seeing these things like memes about how, well, those Trump haters, they better be sending those stimulus checks back. return to sender. And I would never say that. No, but I would never say that about them because the Trump supporters, I mean, the Trump haters have children, just like the Trump supporters have children. They need food. They need to pay their rent. Like, stop hating each other for God fucking sake. I'm so tired of it. And I don't know if that's how much that's going to change, but I hope it does.
I hope so too. They look at it from the political perspective that this is nonpartisan, but yet, we're having the stimulus bill being held up in one house versus the other. And, who knows? I just look at the bigger picture again. I look at the societal thing. And like I said, I just can't wait for it to be over. What I have learned is serenity. Both you and I know the term well, having myself personally been in a 12-step program for 35 years. And this just reminds me, Al-Anon, that is, this just reminds me you really have to take it one day at a time. And as you and I have heard, sometimes 1 hour at a time. Mark, I'm not going to lie. I have literally had to take this 1 hour at a time or I would go crazy. So
well, yeah,
I'm looking forward.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm looking forward to the hours after and how we rebuild and how we analyze, to your point, and how we look at the new order of the world.
Yeah, it is certainly having bringing me into perspective. Well, time, like I said, time passes so fast. I'm really aware of that. The older I get, the more I'm aware of how much less time I have. And I think this is the kind of thing that can bring one into focus on what really matters in life. What really
Amen.
matters in life?
Mm-hmm.
That's not gonna work for a lot of people, but it will for some people.
I think so. I want to also comment. Hey, Mark, look here. Cheers.
Cheers.
Coffee mug time. This reminds me so much of the show we used to do. We were always on video like this.
I
Back
know,
in
and
the
what's
day.
funny is it's been so long since I did this that I got to remember how to process the video. I can't remember.
Oh.
It should be no, but I don't remember. I'm going to have to try it. If it doesn't work, I'll just put the audio up, but I'm going to try to do the video, put that up on my totally dead YouTube channel.
That's so funny. Well, God, you once were a YouTube sensation. If you don't know, guys, your show host here, Mark, did a video about cubicle life back when he worked in the corporate world, and it was millions of people saw it. So you'll find that hopefully on his YouTube
that was
channel.
my heyday back when I
was your heyday.
somebody.
I want to let your listeners also know that little secret. Mark did forget to turn go or push play, so you do know how to do it, Mark, because after 15 minutes into the show today, Mark's like, okay, I got to push play.
No,
so
it
we
was
had a little
like
reset
5 minutes.
there. Oh, I'm being exact. I'm Rick Rose. We tell a good story here.
You want to? Here's a fun thing. We have to take we have 2 cars because I have to drive to work, and we live in the woods. But there was like this noise under the car, and he had driven over like a log, not a giant log, but a log.
Oh no!
They fall. We have when we have a windstorm here, a lot of stuff comes down from the trees. And like, what is that sound? What is that sound? So we got home and I looked under there, and he had hit this log just right so that it's jammed up under the car.
Oh no! How are you going to get it out of there?
Well, we're taking it to the mechanic.
You're going to drive it with a log under it?
Oh yeah, it can drive, and it's only into town. So we take it in there, and he can put it up on the hydraulic and get the log out of there.
Oh my God, that is kind of funny. Hey, I just did the Fauci look.
Oh my God, I read that he was touching himself. I mean, his face.
He was, because Trump made some stupid comment. We're talking about Dr. Fauci, guys, who's one of our heroes, Mark's and mine. He's been with us way back to the HIV and AIDS days, and he is currently one of the leaders and recognized the pandemic here in the United States. There's a new woman member of the team too, Mark, who goes way back to 1983 as well. She was on the press conference last night, but she is the leader of the task force here in the States. Up till now, I think she's worked in 3 or 4 administrations as well, and had a role that Obama pointed to as the head of HIV and AIDS on the global level. So we have the right people doing what they need to be doing if we trust them and we let them do their thing. I guess I'm going to be honest now that I'm verbalizing this, that's kind of where I feel some safety. Like I recognize this is very different than HIV and AIDS, but I also recognize that in that pandemic, it took a long, long time for things to start to happen. There were a lot of unknowns. I do also recognize because of that heritage and that history, and because of heroes like this, we are able to get through this a little faster. And so for that, I'm extremely grateful. I'm also grateful for technology, Mark. If there was no technology, the technology we had 10 years ago, where would our contact be? We wouldn't even be able to look at each other right now. So
we'd have to read books. Grateful. Can you imagine?
I'd read all Mark McNeese books. That's all I would read.
And what was I going to say? Oh, the governors. Yeah, some governors are doing great. Cuomo's doing really good.
People love him. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's a straight talker. That's what we really need, straight talkers. Now with the stock market, I'm going to touch a little bit on that. Frank has always reminded me that you only lose when you sell. So people going like, oh, because
I lost
my
$500.
retirement accounts are down like $13,000.
Sure.
So, but unless you sell it, it's going to go back up. So
Right on.
if you can afford to let it sit there for another 2-3 years or less, I hope it's going to go back up. So just stop thinking this mindset of, oh my gosh, I've lost half my 401k. If you don't touch it, it'll come back. My other thing though, if you can, a lot of people apparently have stocks instead of cash, and like if they need cash right now, they're fucked because they got
Yeah,
to
you should
sell.
always have some liquidity in your savings for sure.
But the other thing I was going to say too is that with me, when it's back up, I'm converting it all to cash because I wonder too, like when you're
Mm.
69, 70, 72, why do you even have stocks? How long do you think you're going to live? Why don't you just turn that all into cash, and then you don't have to worry about this kind of thing happening? Turn it into cash. By the time you're 70, you know, stop trying to make another $100 a month or some shit like that. Cash it out, not withdraw it, but turn it into cash. That's what I think people should do. Because I'm like, somebody close to me had said, my 401k is terrible and blah 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 blah, and he's like in his 70s. I'm like, why do you even have stocks?
Yeah,
You wouldn't
it's
be.
interesting. Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. And your husband's point is right on. But I've talked to people this week that range from, my nephew who's saving at 18 on up to a friend of mine who's 67 on to my mom who's 78. And my 67-year-old friend, she in the 2007 shift in our economy, she certainly knew your point, and she did a lot and converted a lot to cash, but not all of it. So she's at a really high risk point. My other friend, who's 61, lost $500,000 over the last few days. She's one that's looking, but she also does realize, hey, I'm 61, I'm healthy, I've got some time. It's people like my mom I am concerned for various reasons. So they are still a high risk group from what we know. That risk may change from day to day as testing still, proves results that we need to learn from.
You're
But you are
you're
right.
jiggling. You're jiggling your
I
legs.
know. I get my legs are going.
It
I get
makes the
excited
camera
when I
jiggle.
talk.
Go ahead.
I
I'm just
know.
telling you because you're jiggling.
I know. But anyway, but then you have people like me, to be quite frank, guys, and to be totally authentic this morning. I'm just not a saver. I have money that goes into a 401k. I do know, not to sound arrogant or confident, that I will be one of those people, and many of us are, that will never be left on the street. I know that even my friend Mark and Frank will take me in their home should I
That's
face
true.
dire
We got a
times.
room upstairs waiting for you.
So sweet. So sweet. So in that regard, I live my life right now, and I stay in the moment. That's your point here too, even financially. Stay in the moment, right?
Yep, and your hair is dark again.
Yeah, I don't color it anymore, Mark.
You were
Yep,
doing the
yep.
Blade Runner look there for a little bit.
Oh yeah, I was super white, wasn't I? Like
Yeah.
silver or silver foxish. How you doing with your health? Are you finding some time to get out in the great outdoors, or what are you doing for
Well, we
that?
we walk. Of course, I walk at work, but we go for walks. We went for a long, 90-minute walk because Frank walks every single day. I walked.
Nice.
We walked for an hour and a half yesterday in the rain.
Mm.
We're gonna go for a walk today when we leave the car at the mechanics because we can walk at this river trail. So yeah, my health is fine. That I certainly don't want to get sick.
I don't blame you. I love that you brought back some historic podcasts too. You just on this podcast here, you just played the interview with your sister. She's like a holistic healer, and those are nice to have in these day and age
And
too.
those are 6 years ago.
Wow, good stuff there too. I
Yeah.
listened to it last night, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Now,
Yes,
let's wrap it up so I can depart here and get some clothes on.
get your log
What
out
do you
from
think
under
I'm
your
wearing?
car.
What do you think I'm wearing below camera?
I don't want to know, and I haven't even thought about it. But thank you. Please comment below. Hey,
And
everybody,
watch the
please like
show.
and comment
Everything's going
below.
to be okay.
Everything's going to be okay. This is a moment in history. I'm
No, no, I
glad
mean,
we.
no, 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 no. There's a TV show called Everything's Going to Be Okay.
Oh, oh, really?
It's
Okay,
really,
everybody.
really good.
Well, I've been watching Love Is Blind, which I'm sure is very different than Everything's Going to Be Okay.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's a lot of binging going on, a lot of TV watching going on. I'm not a TV viewer, as you know, but being up here, I can walk in the beautiful outdoors, or I can sit and watch TV. I've found a balance of both, so that's been good.
Okay, Rick. I don't know, like how much we covered in this, but we talked. That's what it's all about. We
Hey,
did
make your
some
best face.
we did some video stuff. I look really good, by the way, in my little tiny little thing up there.
You look fantastic. Your lighting is awesome. It's
But
very
I'm way too
mysterious.
heavy. I gotta focus this year on. But if that's it's so. Speaking of binging, it's really like I'm an anxiety eater. I eat when I'm anxious, and what else am I? I'm like anxious all the time now because of all
Yeah,
this shit.
you've seen a lot of memes going around too, showing what life is going to be like after the COVID goes away. We're all going to be fat fucks, but that's oops, I swore. That's okay.
All right. Well, listen. We're going to be catching up at the end of April, and I hope it's really different.
Yeah,
I
Mark, thank you. Mark always has me on as a guest, guys, to kind of wrap up the month. And to your point, there was really only one thing to talk about wrapping up this month. That's for sure. Goes down in history.
All right. I will text you soon, and I'll get this up as soon as I can. Hopefully, as on YouTube. If not, it'll be on the podcast. So,
Look forward to seeing you there.
regular format. Ciao.
Bye, guys. Mark, take care.
Bye.
Bye.